Welcome everybody to another episode of the Lunch Table Podcast with Dylan and Akram. We are continuing our review of Silo with episode 7 called The Flamekeepers. It's now out on Apple TV+. So Akram, in the last episode we said that the show was kind of a bit slow for our taste. So do you think with this episode it's kind of picking back up?
You know, the same flavor, but I think with a little bit more sizzle. Right, it's getting there for sure, and I'm glad it is, because I was a little bit cautious if the show was going to come to a complete halt and be too slow with the pacing and boring and this and that. Yeah, for sure, it seems like it's going to pick up even more, especially in the next episode. But this is a nice taste of what's to come, and we do get a lot of, at least we get some answers along the way. You know, I think I'm not a big fan of the drip feeding method for mystery sometimes. But, you know, for a lot of people, they love that. And it's a good way to prolong the show and in general, right, for different seasons. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was well paced in this one. It didn't feel like too much of a slow burn for me. And it looks like now Juliette is getting closer to the truth now that, you know, she has talked to Gloria Hildebrand. Mm-hmm. And now she's realizing, you know, that perhaps the judicial isn't in charge, and there's a higher power somehow in the silo. I don't know if perhaps Sims is a part of that, or he is just a henchman, but it seems like for the most part he is in control of this satellite room, which is the janitor closet, where they watch everybody through these mirrors in the room. And it was very, you know, disturbing, and I loved like just the shots of the room, and they close up on the mirrors just to show that like these, you know, you think you're watching yourself in this mirror, but somebody else is watching you too. So it was a great exposition of that. And it just feels like this very dystopian state of, you know, everybody's under this watchful eye, and nothing you do really is private. So I thought that was really interesting.
Well, yeah, and you know, people don't realize that. I think this show kind of showcased that beautifully and subtly. People don't realize how much power you have. Like, you hold all the power. You know, if we're a combined force, everyone could just go through that door or take out the people actually in charge if they knew. But I think the problem is people become complacent over time, and they start becoming too comfortable. And I love how the show showcases all of that. And yeah, they're being monitored heavily just in case there's a slight slip up in ideology, and they could definitely rectify it and put that flame out. So all in all, I thought that was really cool. Yeah, I mean, Simmons, he's a really interesting character, man. He's like actually one of my favorite characters in this show. Something about Sims. Something about his character. I just love how they keep the mystery going.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. And Juliette, she has the book, and she kind of has a moment in this episode with her father, albeit, you know, it's not the reunion that she wanted.
Right.
And unfortunately, it kind of becomes more damage as she finds out her father was, as we saw in the first episode with Holston, he is leading this program where there is heavy birth control, and they're lying to these people. Mm-hmm. And it was really sickening, actually, you know, just thinking about how many people that they lied to and giving these people false hope that they could have families, but in reality that wasn't, you know, true. And what they did to Gloria was really messed up too. They were keeping her locked up in this room and drugging her and keeping her from the truth, and you know, keeping her from spreading this message, right, about what the outside world was. And we see too, she was part of this kind of underground movement called the Flamekeepers. And I think, Juliette's mother wasn't a part of it, but she said that, you know, they had great respect for her because she was such a creative and curious thinker. And just seeing how much that book has so much power in the silo that they're willing to risk everything just to destroy. I mean, it has, of course, callbacks to like fascism and, you know, Nazi Germany and the burning of books and everything. But just this little book, it's just a little travel pamphlet, and it just contains so much information, more information than the rest of the silo has, right? Mm. It's really interesting how much power these relics have.
Yeah, it reminds me of Stephen King's novel, not Stephen King, Ray Bradbury, Fahrenheit 451.
Ah, yeah.
Reminds me a lot of that. There's a lot of power in these books. It's interesting that they don't show anything about religion in the silo. I was just wondering. I bet with you, if it's, you know what's interesting, I bet with you, if like a lot of them were Muslim, they probably would end up the same way. That there was one of my favorite movies, guys. You got to check it out. Children, I think, what is it called? Children of Men, I believe, with Clive Owen. Oh my God. And they showed like all these Muslim people, they came together and like they basically destroyed the whole town. But there's a lot of innocent people that suffered too. So like I wonder how the silo would be with religion, because that's like tackling bigger ideas. And damn, and especially, I mean, if you're getting rid of these pamphlets about the wildlife and everyone's curious, imagine what happens with religion.
Unless it's like a thing where it's like in Snowpiercer where they all worship the sacred engine. So maybe for them it's just like the silo itself is a deity.
That would have been cool. No, you know what? That's a cool idea. Honestly, that would have been cool if this is like an Elseworld story, but that would have been cool if Rebecca Ferguson's character, like they kind of consider her a priestess or something because she was like the one who knows how to repair it. I mean, but that's not the story here. But I could see, in a way, yeah, probably not religion, but it's for sure like a deep respect for this. I bet with you, they see the silo, how some like tree huggers, they see like nature and stuff. I bet with you, that's how they kind of react to the silo in general.
Well, also we have to think about, they keep talking about the pact, which is like their 10 commandments or their constitution, whatever you want to call it. So I think that is like the focus of their law in a way. So it's like maybe anything higher than that will kind of feel like for at least for whoever's running the silo, it would be a distraction from this pact because they want to enforce these laws very deeply because I think also religion tends to kind of be very diversive and they want a very uniform structure in the silo because it's much more easier to manage. Because remember, this is all about population control too. So once you start giving people like religious freedoms and stuff, they start taking advantage of that. And then you have, civil wars break out as we see in our modern society. Yeah. So that's probably, at least that's my opinion, why perhaps they don't have like any spiritual roots in the silo.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah, there will be a lot. I think there will actually be, because it's so tight and you can't really escape from that. I think it'll be even more segregated because then people are living their lives differently from other religions and they have different beliefs. So it's like, it's really hard to just walk somewhere and you see somebody doing something a little differently. There'll be a clash because they're in that echo chamber. So it's always like the pressure's building. And it's so funny that we keep saying these terms like the pressure's building when they're inside the silo and stuff. So it does make a lot of sense.
Well, also, there was a quote that Gloria said, and it made me think to your earlier theory about how there's something with the water or something genetic. And she said that they were putting something in the water, I guess, to make them maybe more docile or less hostile in a way. So do you have any, concurrent thoughts on that? Do you still think it's something that they're, drugging these inmates? Or
yes. Fluoride. Residents? Nobody drink your tap water. All right. Don't at me.
It's the water from Delaware when that whole pollutant thing came out.
That's what it was.
Shit.
So this is like Italian.
No, that's what it is. Once they go outside, all that smoke from Canada will come over. That's why they don't want to leave.
That's what it was all this time. They were actually in New York or something.
Shit.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That's why it's orange. That's why the cover of Silo is orange.
Yeah.
I figured it out, guys.
He figured it out, man. You should definitely write
that's
season 2.
For this episode. No,
yeah, that's it. You got a call from Apple. They're like, you got to stop.
They're watching me on the monitor like Sims.
yeah. They see our YouTube channels and stuff. Right? For sure. I think because it's weird, unless if it's like just people who just wants a small scale empowerment somehow. But I don't know what that does, because when you're in that echo chamber, like there has to be a max to how much you could get, because then you'll start feeling unsatisfied. So power, in a way, kind of, the more power you have, the more unsatisfied you'll feel eventually. And so then you can actually become self-destructive and really hateful. So I don't know if like there's people doing that. So for the most part, to me, it kind of makes sense. Like probably the outside isn't all that bad. I mean, we've seen from the first couple episodes, they're alluding to it being nice. We saw Holston outside there, right? And Allison. So yeah, I think these people are special. I don't know if they come from some lineage. I don't know if it's the water exactly, and they're mutated somehow. I don't know. I'm sure I don't know, like Samuel Jackson says. But for sure, it has to be something genetic, or unless I sound like a complete buffoon, and people who read the novels is like, oh yeah, no, the outside is
I know
ruined.
nothing about the novel, so if I mean, you probably know more than me, but if you guys know anything about the series, let me know, because I'm actually really intrigued now.
Yeah.
Like this whole world building structure, I feel like it's a little like, I mean, I haven't read the books obviously, but I feel like they're only pulling a snippet of it from the novels, and this is a much larger world than
Sure.
it seems to be. But it's really interesting, and I just love the, like I said in earlier reviews, like how small scale this dystopian world feels, but yet they have huge consequences. And it's an interesting take on society, like how do we take such a small group, right, and try to contain it, and still have a idea of freedom in a way. It's very interesting. It's like almost philosophical in a way.
It for sure. It's like it's a petri dish scale of society, and it's a social experiment in a way. I think it's brilliant personally. The show is, so I imagine that the novels are even better. So this is definitely a great entryway for the novels as well, especially with the mystery, how they drip feed. I think actually maybe this could be a smart tactic, drip feeding so much that like you really want to invest in the world, and then it keeps you like it kind of creates hardcore fans through the series by doing that. So I mean, yeah, it's not my cup of tea the way how they drip feed in the beginning, at least. Like it was really scarce. It was so barren, the mystery. I was like, oh my God, I'm so thirsty for more. But now it's getting there where I'm getting really excited for what's to come. And then boom, they got you because the show just ended. So now you can wait for season 2. So it's smart.
Do you believe that Holston is still alive? I'm just curious.
It's hard, dude. It's hard. Well, it's hard because I don't know how it would make sense, because why didn't he mess up the camera on the front then? Right? Even if that thing is CGI or something and is fake, why he didn't do something to knock it out? Why that CGI has to be so unbelievably realistic that they left the dead body there. It's like a still image. It doesn't make sense. If he's alive for sure, he's recruited by the Fast and Furious family. That's the only logical sense.
It.
Yeah.
That's it.
I have no idea like how, like, and then plus
Shit.
Allison, my hope is that they both are together somehow. And that would be cool if somehow I said Rebecca, Juliette sees them and they have like a baby or something, but it's really weird. And I think that's too soon to happen. What are your thoughts?
I would love to see them back, honestly. If they're gone for sure, I mean, because now it seems like Juliette is the focus. I would love to see them come back, though, and perhaps they started their own civilization, or they found other people. I forgot how many people they said were exiled in the silo, but what if they found like other people and they found like their own civilization, and that's when they start trying to get everybody out of the silo? I think that could be a really interesting like follow-up season.
But why since the beginning? Like, who were the people in the beginning? Why they never did anything? Like, that's my thing. Because if no one has weapons, but they kind of revealed that there are some, why hasn't anyone waged war on it? Like, I don't understand. Unless there's people on the outside. Or, like, are there multiple silos? I doubt. Well, that would be... I mean...
That's...
yeah.
Bigger questions.
Yeah.
Bigger questions, yeah. It's like George. Like, what's the big question, right?
That's the big question. I'll tell you what. Holston and Allison... they got eaten by mountain lion or something, or a pack of hyenas. That's the real truth. You guys don't want to see.
It got so dark.
Yeah.
Shit.
He was like, and boom.
Well, also think about it too. It's like, excuse me, how long have these people really been in the silo? Because I'm sure, like, once you went out, even if it was like the air was like okay to breathe, like just having like natural sunlight on your skin, like how would that affect you, right? They don't even have medicine now that they're out of the silo, so it's like they are not immune to these new viruses and new diseases that could have been pating through the earth all these years.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think 10,000 people live in society bound by regulations they believe are meant to protect them.
This is from the novel.
Yeah, I'm actually like looking to see. I don't actually see. They're keeping it tight-lipped in the answers here. Yeah, I don't know. I still
even the authors don't want us to fucking know anything about the sun.
I'm like shit. I'm just curious.
Shit.
Yeah, but I think the show will last because watch me say that, and then the show gets canceled after season 1.
Just our luck, right?
Well, it's a big internet hit apparently, and it's competing with Ted Lasso, and Ted Lasso's finishing up, and Barry just wrapped its stuff, and you have Succession stuff. So I feel like this could bring a lot of people to Apple TV. And what you were talking about, the sunlight and stuff, it's basically all of the things that humans need to thrive in, and that's really lacked in the actual society that we see here. So it's really beautiful, the type of messaging they're showing, that it's like these simple things are what make us whole. So, but the actual, like, what's the actual mystery? I'm sure I don't know. That's the real thing. Yeah.
Well, what are your final thoughts, and what is your rating for this episode?
Yeah, I give this episode a 9 out of 10. I thought this episode was way better than the last one. I think, again, I think episode 8 is the travel episode where we're gonna start our engines and finally get going, because they have to start at 8 and things have to kind of speed up at 9. And then it has to come to a head at 10. But 10 will drop like a heavy cliffhanger, I'm pretty sure. And I know all these things what I'm saying is pretty vague, but that seems like the structure, especially a drip feeding type of shows like this. It kind of reminds me again from the show from Epix called From, that they did it this style as well. And it keeps you wanting more. I don't know if they'll show anything about the outside at the very end. Maybe a quick glimpse of the true outside. Maybe a quick glimpse of Holston. But for the next episode, I think it's going to be pretty chill. A little bit faster paced, at least. What about you?
I mean, I like this episode overall. I thought the scene with the guy who was like, the cartographer dude, and when he shared a kiss with Juliette, I thought that was a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're going to do anything with that later. I did like seeing, Juliette and her dad just had like a brief moment of reconnection, even if it was, more damaged or the bridges are now burned. But yeah, I think for, what's to come, I feel like it's going to end on this big revolution. I think because now she has the hard drive that she found in Hildebrand's room. So I think once she uncovers what's on that drive, it's going to lead to a lot of, disasters, and people are going to start questioning their environment. And once she finds out who they are, and she reveals that to the public, I think it could be disastrous. And then it could lead to, of course, a season 2. I could definitely see this picking up with another season if it, gains popularity. But overall, great episode. I think 9 out of 10 for me as well. But guys, that is our review for episode 7 of Silo, now out on Apple TV Plus. Check it out. Check out our other reviews for Silo as well. We have so many shows and movies that we've been covering this month. We appreciate all your guys' support. So wherever you check us out, leave a like, leave a comment. Anything helps the channel. We love you guys so much. So guys, until then, thanks for having lunch with us.
See you guys.